Good morning and welcome to Joy in Our Town. This morning we're going to be talking to two teens who have been to literally hell and back on drugs. They're going to bring to you some information on what they've experienced. Both of them are currently residents at Phoenix House, which is a drug rehabilitation program. And joining us today also is Mr. Dallas Stout, who is the director at Phoenix House. And I'd like to introduce you this morning to Crystal and to Jennifer and Mr. Stout himself. And thank you all for being here this morning.
Thank you.
We know today that the subject is facing us every day. People don't always want to talk about it, but we're really thankful that you're here today to put a face to the issue, and both of you young ladies to encourage others, and that's what we hope the show will do today. So we really appreciate you coming out here and putting your face out there for us, give us some encouraging words. But Dallas, why don't you give us a little bit of insight as to, in general, what Phoenix House is about, and maybe how you came to end up here in life.
Okay, yeah. Phoenix House is the nation's largest nonprofit substance abuse services agency. They do a myriad of different services. They're primarily known for the residential treatment, which their methodology, they've worked on founding and have been a leading edge provider of residential treatment since 1967. I ended up there just kind of by chance through a series of college internships and meeting one of the other directors, and came to a point in my life where I wanted a change in careers, and I called him up and he said, no, I'm actually one of the few directors at Phoenix House that never used drugs.
Okay.
And which makes me rather unique. And so I asked them to come on board, and the rest was history.
Wow. Well, that's interesting, and I really commend you for taking it on. It's a challenge to deal with that. And I think one of the falsities today in society is that people think they had to have experienced things to be able to relate and to help.
Well, yeah, and in the field of substance abuse treatment, that's still a pretty deeply ingrained belief, and there are very few of us, the number is growing, but there are very few of us that are actually in the trenches doing the work that did not get there through the street. And I think what we're finding more every day is that it's just imperative to have a well-integrated team of college-educated professionals, medical and psychiatric, psychological, and those that come with the street experience, and kind of provide a united front.
Well, let's introduce Jennifer first. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're 17 and you're a resident. How long have you been a resident at Phoenix House?
For almost 10.5 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, no one wakes up when they're 11, 10, 12, 13 and says, well, I want to get involved in drugs, but it happens. How did it happen to you?
For me, I started using when I was about 13, and it mostly started out as just kind of boredom and curiosity. And
were your friends using?
Yeah, there were a couple, and then I kind of sought out more that were, because you know, I had the normal friends, and then I know that there was a little group of kids who were experimenting and whatnot, and I kind of went towards them and I left the others. But I started out real small. You know, was just smoking cigarettes and smoking marijuana once in a while, and then it got bigger and bigger, and I just kept going. And
at what point did you find and honestly say to yourself that you knew that you were hooked on drugs, that you were addicted? Did it take a long time?
Yeah. When I was 16, I kind of started to maybe believe that, you know, okay, possibly I have a problem, because I kept going in and out of juvenile hall and stuff like that. And I started to believe that I sort of did. And I came into the Phoenix House while I was still 16. I turned 17 in there. And before I came in, I knew that I did, but I continued to use. I knew for a fact that I had a problem, but I just didn't matter as much to me.
Well, before we go on, because I know you have more to tell us, I want to introduce Crystal. And maybe the same question to you is, how old are you? How did you get started? And Maybe you can also add, was there anything going on in your family that, you know, a lot of kids say, well, I don't have a family, so I go look for some other satisfaction. Was that happening to you at all?
I was 13, and my parents had got separated. And it was curiosity. The main thing was curiosity, and it wasn't, my friends weren't using, but we all tried it together. And then I moved back down to where I grew up, and everybody was doing different drugs there. So I went on and I tried that with them, and I kept doing it. And it's like kind of a history with my family. Like we have some family members and gangs and stuff like that. So I saw that route, and I ended up taking it after my parents got separated.
And how did it affect your family, Jennifer, at the time that you got to the point where you had been arrested and gotten into the system, and before maybe you came into Phoenix House?
Well, I lost a lot of trust. Like, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I was born, you know, it was a 10, and then at the point before I came into the Phoenix House, it was like -4 or 5, you know.
In other words, no trust from your family to you.
Not at all. I had, you know, like, the trust was, you know, my dad would sleep with his wallet under his pillow, you know, because I would be stealing money to go get more drugs, and there was no trust at all. There was fighting, there was yelling and screaming, once in a while physical fighting, and
Do you have brothers and sisters?
No, I'm an only child. And so there was no trust, there was fighting, there was just really not healthy things for a healthy relationship, as far as comments being said on, you know, both of our parts, not just my parents, not just me, it was both of us, and it just got worse and worse.
How about you, Crystal?
What was the question again?
About, do you have siblings, brothers and sisters?
I have 2 sisters.
And being that your parents were separated, then there was more, you were dealing with it more personally by yourself, individually, or was there an effect on the family also?
Well, they like pretty much disowned me, because I disrespected the whole house, the whole family. I didn't care. They didn't care anymore because they knew I didn't care. I mean, they loved me and everything, but they gave up. The only one that stuck with me was my mom.
It's really not at all uncommon for the kids to come into our program and kind of be written off by society. Phoenix House is fairly well known for being kind of the end of the line. In many cases, people have blown through 2 or 3 programs and a few years of running on the street when they get to us. And our research shows on a national level that there are far more similarities than differences for the adults in treatment and the adolescents. But it's not at all uncommon for a young person to get there and the parents just say, we're not coming for 6 months. Don't call us, don't write us, we want nothing to do with this child. And our treatment team, as well as the adolescent, then has a lot of work to do. Because there have been a lot of bridges burned and a lot of trust lost and a lot of incidents and big things and small things that people just reach a point where...
So what goes through your mind? Do you think that, wow, I've hurt my family, I can't blame them? Or do you think the opposite, where are they when I need them?
For me, my dad was always been there for me because my parents got divorced when I was 9. And I lived with my dad most of my life. My dad's always been there, and he's always been a huge support, you know. And there were times that I thought he was, you know, doing the wrong thing, because he would be calling the cops on me and stuff when I didn't come home for days, or if he found stuff in my room or something, he'd be calling the police. And I thought, you know, how could you do this? You know, I'm your daughter, and you're basically sending me to juvenile hall, and how could you do that? And then, you know, it took me a while, but I realized that that was the only way he knew how to deal with it. He had done everything else that he knew how. He had sent me to a rehab when I was 14, which was only for 6.5 weeks, and that's not a very long time, and it did absolutely nothing. I was using within like 2 days when I got out. I've been to AA, NA, and all that stuff. I've been through all kinds of programs, and I just never got it through my head.
Well, you get to a point then where obviously you're deeper and deeper involved in drugs. You begin to have confrontations with the law.
See, with me, I never realized anything until I became sober. I didn't realize that my mom was always there. I thought she wasn't.
So you
she
weren't
used to
seeing
make
clearly,
the missing reports when I would run away, and I was like, "Why are you doing that? That's gonna make my record even bigger, you know." And she would just do it because she cared and she was worried. And before I was like, "Why?" You know. I was getting arrested. I didn't care.
So what would you tell parents then of children that have children that have gone through or are going through what you've been through? Because, like you say, you think parents are doing the wrong thing by telling on you, reporting you.
Just stick
but you
by
think
their
it's
side.
a good thing?
Yeah,
for
just
them to
stick
do
with
that?
them.
I would say no matter how mad they get at you and how much they, resent what you're doing, in the long run, it's a lot better. And if hopefully and when they do see, like their eyes are opened, so to speak, and they do realize that, wow, you really were doing this for my better and not just for the heck of it, then they finally do realize that they were there and they were doing it, so maybe they would realize what was going on.
Do you think that kids ever think that parents are reporting them just to get them out of their hair and let the law take care of them or let a program take care of them? Kids think that?
Yeah. I thought that, and I didn't realize it first. I'm like, you just don't want to deal with it. You can't deal with it,
Yeah.
And my father had tried every other way to deal with it, and it didn't work, and that was his last chance that he had.
Dallas, how do you work with parents, and if you do, to what extent? Because obviously it's probably an overwhelming problem when a parent comes to that realization and they don't know what to do.
Right. The outcome studies clearly state that having the parents involved in the treatment is a major protective factor for the outcomes. It's really important at Phoenix House to have the parents involved, one or both. In some cases, we'll go for an uncle or a grandparent if the parents aren't around. It's not at all uncommon to have parents tell us, I knew 2 years ago my kid was using, but I didn't want to know. And all of a sudden, one day, they realize it emotionally, because cognitively they've known it and they haven't wanted to, and they realize it, and it's like everything just crumbles around them. They have 3 or 4 really bad days, and then they start seeking out help and come to us with a real humility because they got to that place. The other side is they'll get there after a couple of months at Phoenix House. Their child has been there a couple of months. And it's really tough because some of the parents, Jennifer's dad, for instance, are real supportive of the program and they want to be there and help and be actively involved. Other parents come in and kind of see us as the enemy. Maybe their kid went to jail and the judge placed the kid at Phoenix House, and they kind of fight us every step of the way. And then you have the whole denial component of drug addiction. In some cases, the parents have been part of the problem, where they have enabled and allowed themselves to be manipulated and allowed this to continue. So cognitively, they'll seek out, they say, I want the best program in the country for treatment, and ultimately they'll end up at Phoenix House, and then for the first 3 or 4 months, unknowingly, they'll do things that kind of get in the way of the treatment process, like sneaking in money or giving the kids cigarettes, and things that subvert our process, which is very tightly controlled. And I don't think they mean to do it. It's just that they've been doing that so long. This is not, adolescent drug treatment is not a 1 or 2 year issue. It's something that's usually been going on for a number of years. And so part of what Jennifer is reacting to is that we really don't believe that you can take an issue that took 16 years to create itself and fix it in 2 weeks. Most of the treatment efficacy research shows that a 1 to 2 year treatment episode is the best. And that's why Phoenix House is kind of stuck to our guns, especially during the 80s when everybody was going to managed care and switching to 2-week modalities without patients. And we were kind of taking a battering saying, no, the research literature says that a 1 year inpatient and 1 year follow-up is the best, and that's what we're going to do.
What drew you to drugs? I mean, you probably had friends that already had the lifestyle going on. You saw what it did to them, maybe physically, emotionally. What were you looking for when you wanted or began to try drugs? Maybe
the way
Crystal?
it felt.
The way it felt?
Just like, it seemed like they had a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
So you want to have that fun too and see what the feeling is behind it.
And I don't mean this question disrespectfully, but didn't your parents tell you better?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
But they didn't what?
It went in one ear and out the other. They told me constantly, but
Do you feel maybe they didn't provide something else to keep your attention, something else to make you feel good, so to speak, or?
No, because I was in cheerleading.
Oh, were you?
They had me doing things that, like when I wanted to do softball, they enrolled me in that. You know, they were there for things like that for me, but it was just me that didn't. That wanted to do other things.
Same thing with me. Like my dad was always like, you know, you want to do softball or be on the soccer team, or you want to go. And I mean, I was on a swim team for a while, and I was swimming, and I was doing different things, and it just didn't. The drugs seemed more interesting, and you know, once I got there, it's like, you know, look, these people are having a good time, you know. They have fun, and it's like you start doing it a couple times and you kind of realize, like, you know, this makes me just think of having a good time while I'm high or whatever. I don't have to think about, oh, my parents this, my dad this, my probation officer this, you know, and it just kind of takes your mind off everything, and you can just, yeah, it just takes your mind off all the problems, and you can just focus on there with your friends and hanging out, you know.
So how do you deal with problems now?
There's a lot of different things we do at the Phoenix House. We have family sessions, which is like a little therapy session with therapists and our parents for an hour every week. We deal with a lot of stuff there. When we're not in there, there's groups that we have at least 3 times a week. We'll have a group, and depending on who the group's focus is on, you can just unload with everything. You know, you can talk about whatever it is on your mind. And then there's not only the residents, which is, the program's really, like, the staff are there to oversee everything, but the residents pretty much run the whole thing, you know. And with the residents, there are peers, you know, and they give us the feedback, and they tell us what we think we should do and what needs to be done.
There's a big emphasis on the residents learning what some of their triggers were and kind of being real. So it really wouldn't be, we try to discourage them from coming in and saying, I'm pissed off. We would rather say, well, what's going on? Are you angry? What are you feeling? What's below that? So there's a real emphasis at Phoenix House on being real and then talking about it. You have to, if you keep it inside, you're going to explode. And for some people, exploding means picking up a needle or lighting up. And so you need to grab someone near you and say, I need to talk. You need to pick up the phone and call a friend, even if it's 2 in the morning. But you need to have enough insight to think about, okay, what's going on? Am I sad because this is the anniversary of my mom's death? Or am I sad because I, you know, whatever, try to get it to the real root of the issue, and then to talk about it.
So what's going on with you now at the Phoenix House, Crystal? How are you feeling about yourself? What's going on with you?
I feel better about myself. I have a better relationship with my mom. My family accepts me now. I told her before I was disowned. They didn't want me there anymore. Now they want me home. I'm a whole different me.
You have goals?
Yeah, I want to be a cosmetologist. Well, one is to stay sober and graduate high school, because I never went to school before. And I'm barely catching up. And to become a cosmetologist.
How about you, Jennifer?
Right now with my parents, well, when I got to the Phoenix House, my dad told me that, you know, this was it. This was like my last straw. And that if I couldn't do it this time, that, you know, he would always be there, you know, he would always love me, but he couldn't handle it anymore. Like, the stress on him was too much. And that if I didn't do it this time, he was more or less gonna, like, wash his hands of me, you know. And I'm almost ready to leave because I've been there for almost a year. And right now he wants me home, you know. I want to be home. Our relationship is so much better, and like the trust that's invested in me now is just, it's like a miracle compared to how it was before. So our relationship's a lot better.
What makes you think that you will be able to say no to drugs in the future?
Well, okay, when I first got there, I didn't know how I was going to do that, you know? It's like the biggest problem, the hardest thing for me is just old friends. Stopping by the house, you know, seeing my lights are on or hearing my radio playing or whatever, you know, they know I'm home. And they want to come and they want to see what's going on, you know? And, I mean, they seem to know that you're there for some reason. Because we go on passes and stuff.
You go home on passes?
Yeah, and I went home on a pass once, and later on that night, someone came by and left a note by my house. And, you know, my dad came and showed it to me, and it's like I was home for, you know, just the day. First time for the day in months. And someone saw me, you know, so, like, the hardest thing for me is going to be to say no to the friends. But that's what this place has taught me, that, you know, I thought that they were my friends, but they weren't my friends. If they're going to, you know, just keep feeding me drugs and saying, you know, it's okay, or, you know, screw what your dad says, screw what your mom says, let's just go here anyways, or, you know, I wonder if your dad has any money, you know, and just all this stuff. And learning at the Phoenix House that these people weren't my real friends. They were just using me, and just learning there, just that alone makes me want to, you know, say no.
Disassociate in a way.
Yeah.
And how about you, Crystal? Have you been able to encourage anyone, any friends of yours that had been on drugs, to seek help?
I haven't talked to anybody.
Are you not allowed to, or
no,
you just
we're
have?
not allowed to talk to. I don't want to talk to them either, because that's gonna make me go back downhill and go back into that trap. So hopefully, I mean, they know I'm in rehab and stuff, so hopefully they'll realize, but I doubt it. You never know.
What is it that that you have found is your major key to success? I mean, I hear about umpteen drug rehab programs, and how does Phoenix House stand out and differentiate from them?
Well, Phoenix House is very unique. The therapeutic community modality of treatment is very unique, and the idea that all of the residents come together as a community and the community is the healer is really something that's different. And when you live in a place for a year, it's kind of like a pressure cooker. One of the major differences between treatment at Phoenix House and treatment at most other places is that there's no point at which treatment stops. And for instance, school starts, or okay, we're eating now, or we're taking bath time now. Everything at Phoenix House 24 hours a day, from the way you go to bed, to the way you get up in the morning, to the way you get in line for lunch, to the way you prepare to go to an afternoon meeting, is therapeutic and fodder for the meal.
For instance?
And, well, for instance, at Phoenix House, we sleep under the covers in our bed. And the reason for that is that we do hospital corners in the morning. Now, the drug user mentality is, if I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and know that I'm held accountable for my bed and I have to do drug corners, it's easier to lay on top of it and get over it, right? So that's one thing. And the other thing is that 95% of the world's population sleeps under the covers. And since at Phoenix House, we're not only interested in just the cessation of drug use, but we're interested in growing responsible citizens with integrity and honesty and character. So we sleep under the covers at Phoenix House. We put our dirty clothes away. We come prepared for meetings because we anticipated our needs. So there's not a lot of room for excuses. And it's an incredible pressure cooker that just brings a lot of weight to bear.
So you're always on your toes, huh? You have to be on your toes.
Yeah, and the residents kind of moderate and help each other. I really see my role as the director as to love them and to help them stay. If I can do anything in my power to pick them up and dust them off and send them back in so that they stay, that community will help them. And some of the ways we do that, I start my day every morning by walking through the classroom and saying good morning to the residents. At their snack time, we encourage all of our staff to drop what they're doing and go out and interact with them, to have a real relationship. We come back and walk through the house at night to tuck them in. not physically, but to ask them, how was your day? What did you learn today? Even if it's a kid that I had a major run-in 4 hours ago, I'm going to walk into that kid's room and say, you know, how was your day? Good night. And, you know, it's teaching them that they can get angry and that they can speak their mind to an adult, and that I'm not necessarily going to leave or hold things and things.
Yeah. That's interesting, because it's a security.
Yes.
And it's stability, it's consistency that in our society, a lot of even, you know, single-family homes that they lack that. And
a lot of the kids, it's the first time they've ever had that.
Yeah.
It's very unsettling for some of them that are used to the chaos that comes from
used to sleeping
home.
on top of the sheets and blankets.
Sure.
We want to give your address, Della, so that people can get a hold of the Phoenix House and obviously help a lot of kids that are out there. But these can be reached at Phoenix House of Orange County, 1207 East Fruit Street, Santa Ana 92701. The telephone number is 800-DRUG-HELP, 800-DRUG-HELP, and a website at www.phoenixhouse.org. Once again, www.phoenixhouse.org. You know, when I think of drug use, and I think of movies I've seen or people I've known, I always get concerned about withdrawals. I had a close family member that went through alcohol program and was totally rehabilitated. But the withdrawal thing was always something that concerned me because it seemed frightening. Do they go through withdrawal? You want to talk about that?
I withdrawed off heroin and methadone, but I did that in juvenile hall before I got to the Phoenix House. But my body's still getting used to the whole being normal without the methadone or the heroin. But it was awful. The first time I had came off of it twice. Once with methadone, the other time just heroin. And the first time it took over a month before I slept well and ate.
What did you experience?
Body aches. You can't sleep. The cold sweats. Nightmares. I would have nightmares every night. Like I was just about to fix, and they were passing me everything, and I would wake up. You would sleep only like 5 minutes, and you thought you'd slept like an hour, 2 hours. The second time, to me, it was a little easier. Most people say when you come off methadone that it's real hard, and it's harder. But to me, it helped me more because the second time I came off of everything, heroin and methadone, in about 2 weeks. I was done. I was already eating and.
We don't do medical withdrawal at Phoenix House, so if they're actively using right up to the point, then we encourage them to go into a hospital for a few days and withdraw.
So for a 17-year-old, she's been through a lot.
Yeah, even for the kids that come in, there is really a point at 1 or 2 or 3 months where you can notice the difference. Their eyes get clearer, they feel better, they look better. There's a vitality that returns that the staff can really see, and the kids feel that and see that too. And that's exciting to them. It's like, wow, I never knew this. Feel kind of normal, huh? Yeah, right.
Wow. Jennifer, how about you? Did you go through withdrawals?
I personally didn't. I was smoking marijuana up to the day that I got there, and I was a little tired, but that was pretty much it. It is interesting though, because I've been using for about 4 years, and the 10 months that I've been sober, like I've never been sober that long since I started using, and I had never made it up to 2 months, you know? And it's just like amazing how much clearer you think and how much different you see things.
Well, it's been good having you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. That was good. You guys have interesting stuff.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.